Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 57 today. Barry, Fair, and Mark with you on yet another edition of In the Studio. And it's great to have your company here, wherever you may be. Well, just recapping yesterday when we went to Chermside, and video is coming up for you now. And just going back over a few rules, ladies and gentlemen, okay, about phone manners, going back to that before we get on to the nitty gritty of today. Now, if you want things sorted out, please address them in an adult-like way. Here's Mark now to open episode 57 with that.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Morning, Barry.
Good morning, Mark.
So, phone manners. And realistically, it's about when Barry said conversations being conducted in an adult manner. He means in a way where mutual respect is demonstrated and that lines of communication are kept open and that you are willing to listen, both sides are willing to listen and then discuss so that there is clear understanding of what's being said by both parties and then resolution with an agreement. So hopefully that's how it pans out, but experience might tell you that it doesn't always go that way.
So guys, we've said on episode 41 and 42, okay, it is very important, okay, if something is not going your way, please do not act the fool, okay, otherwise, like we've said before, and we will say it again, the phone call will be terminated, the same with the meeting as well, okay, and you will have to wait another day until you are ready, until both parties are ready to come to some sort of understanding. Here's Mark now.
So that's the theory, is that the two parties will continue to communicate until there is mutual understanding, and then once you have mutual understanding, then you can talk about resolution. But until you actually understand what the other person is saying, it is all but impossible to achieve an outcome for them, and vice versa.
Because, okay, it is no good playing the blame game because you've had some bad news, and we have also said this on many of the videos we've brought to you. Here's Mark.
Yes, the blame game is a great way to have a conversation end immediately. So that just demonstrates aggression and I suppose a negative start to any conversation is to start pointing fingers. So,
Say, for example, if I went like that, okay, that's not going to give me the outcome that I need. Here's Mark.
Definitely not. So when you are wiggling your finger, that's the actual pointing of the finger, but figurative pointing of the finger is equally as counterproductive. So, as Barry first mentioned, if a conversation starts with a blame game, then it's rarely going to go beyond that, and the conversation will be a pointless frustration for both parties. So, if you want resolution, then start with the blame game.
Because,
Start with the resolution mindset.
Because if you play the blame game, guys, what's going to happen? Okay, it's not going to gel very well. Because when you look at it, okay, whichever wins first, well, it's all going to end up in one big mess. Here's Mark.
Yes, so the whole concept of resolution and achieving outcomes requires everyone to be equally as understanding of all positions, so that when you talk about them, everyone's understanding the same meaning, looking for the same outcomes, and working towards the same end. So, as we've said on numerous occasions, kicking off a conversation with accusations
bang
is never going to achieve a resolution result. It might make you feel better for 5 minutes to give someone a serve, and then think about sorting it out another week, because it certainly won't get sorted out then and there.
Because, as we just said now, the conversation will end immediately, and that is certainly the end of whatever was supposed to be organized. Here is Mark.
I don't think we need to labour that too much more. We're going round in circles a bit of open communication, not accusation. Done.
So we don't need to repeat ourselves, people. So if you've got nothing nice, excuse me, if you've got nothing nice or positive to say, then don't say it. You say it best when you say nothing at all. Simple as that.
Nice style of mine there.
Because, like, what's the point of speaking if you've got nothing positive to say, full stop?
Well, it's certainly not a conversation if all you're worried about is giving someone a serve. Then it's not a conversation about resolution. It's not a conversation about achieving an outcome other than to give someone a serve. So if you feel that that's all you are good for that day and that's all you're going to do, by all means, fill your boots, but don't expect it to be received well.
So, because, like we've said in the past, you're only going to tie yourself for the rest of your life. Here's Mark.
Well, hopefully people can change, but not to labour a point too long, just stick to open-minded conversation for the purposes of achieving outcomes, and it should remain civil. Otherwise, it's just a failure.
Because it's going to go, And here's Mark.
Well, I think we've gone round and round and round, so
So we
Should-
go.
we should move on.
So let's move off the negative stuff now and focus on positive. But before we do that, let's take a break. Well, here we are again, back on episode 57 here, 11:15 here. Mark English and Barry Fear with you here in the studio. Now on with some more positive news now. And what are we making? The classic egg and bacon pie. We've covered phone manners and being respectful ad nauseum, so we won't bore you viewers with that again because we've given you all the tools for that. But just going back over one thing, and that is staying safe on those roads over Christmas. Now, we will talk about that before we get on to today's subject. Now, we all know that you love to go, that you would like to go away and travel on the roads. But remember, like Mark and I said, you only have the one life out there, ladies and gentlemen. So don't waste it by doing something stupid. Okay? If you're gonna be late, like Mark was, be late. There's nothing you can do about it. Here's Mark to open the second part of episode 57 with that.
Thanks, Barry. I agree with you 100%. If you're going to be late, be late. It's not the end of the world. However, you could end your world trying to get there on time. So the sensible thing is relax, take your time, and when you get there alive, you're there. And, if you're going to be a little bit late, then you're going to be a little bit late.
Because the party's not gonna start without you. Okay? Ring the person. Tell them you're having a power now. Here's Mark.
Well, if you can ring them, ring and let them know, and then it's a complete non-issue. But otherwise, don't worry. It is what it is. If you're going to be late, then that's just what it is that day. It's certainly nothing to, change your driving habits for or anything like that. Don't speed, don't rush, just be normal, and when you get there, you're there. Being late, it's just unfortunate.
And if you've had too much to drink, guys, please don't drive. Get a cab home. But we will talk more about that, more about drinking and driving a little later on. But the most important thing, guys, is to enjoy Christmas. Get to your loved ones safely, like I'm gonna do. Because when it comes to safety on the roads, guys, okay, we're gonna keep saying this. You are the only one on that road, okay, But if you get tired, guys, please pull over. There are plenty of rest stops on the highways everywhere. Here's Mark.
Barry's correct. If you feel tired, you must stop routinely, get out, go for a walk, have a cup of coffee or a Coke or something that sparks you up a bit. Make sure that if you've got a passenger that they're awake and helping you stay awake rather than going off to sleep because you're in charge of the car.
And just a moment, I will pause that. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, driving tired, it's not worth the risk. Okay, because if you drive tired, guys, and everyone out there that's planning their Christmas vacation away to see their loved ones, okay, it is not practical to drive on your own. Get somebody who is capable of driving the car, pull over, let them drive for 2 hours, okay? Then when that 2 hours is up and you've had a nap, then the person can get back behind the wheel and then continue driving. And like we said yesterday, like we say, don't drive on your own just to hurry to get to your loved ones. Find somewhere safe to stop overnight, whether it's at a hotel or park in the car park at the nearest service station till you sleep back. Okay, and just sleep there if you can't afford accommodation. Here's Mark.
Thanks, Barry. Absolutely. If you are tired, have a rest. And as I said, use whatever tools are available to you to make sure that your tiredness is not going to creep into your driving. And if that means having a rest and a sleep, then have a rest and a sleep. As we said before about being late, it's much better to arrive late and safe than not arrive at all.
And like you can always pull in at a petrol a service station car park, and until you see back there, there's nothing wrong with that. I did that as an 8-year-old kid. We stayed in the car all night because my mum and dad couldn't afford accommodation at a hotel. So there's an option for you there. Because, guys, Christmas is a time where you should be able, well, not just me, but everyone around Australia should be able to go and see their loved ones without, and it's better to not speeding and drinking because you have the two options. Either you drive right through, smashing the trees, have the police knock on your door, or stop, revive, and survive. The choice is up to you, ladies and gentlemen. And before you go away, service your car, okay? Make sure you've got everything serviced, fixed in the car. Check your spare tire. Make sure it hasn't got a hole in it. Because if you haven't got a spare tire, guys, now is the time to go and get a spare tire. Buy a spare tire, okay? Put it underneath, okay? And make sure that if you have a flat tire, which we'll talk about in a moment, just getting back onto getting to your destination, it is important that you really do think about your actions there. Here is Mark.
Thanks, Barry. Anything that is going to interfere with your driving, so there was a brief mention of drinking. Obviously, that has been proven to affect your driving and your ability to stay away and your decision-making processes. So there's no excuse for drink driving at all, and driving tired is equally as dangerous. And unfortunately, statistics would say that a lot of people who think they're fine to drive clearly aren't. So lots of people that think they're good to drive end up dying on roads.
So we're getting, I'd like to tell you about a family, okay? You may have seen the ad with the combi, okay? A car, two people in a combi van drove right through the night. And one guy said, the roads are deserted, let's go. But when one person said, let's go home and get some sleep, and they said, oh, I thought we were going tonight. And the guy said, are you serious? And the lady said, are you serious? And the guy said, yeah, come on, let's go. The roads are deserted. Now that is a decision not worth making. Here's Mark.
As long as you've planned your trip so that you can be in good condition to drive, then that's all you can do. But it does mean making sensible decisions about your trip. And as Barry says, if you're going to leave at 1 o'clock in the morning, that only works if you've had a sleep before you go. So if you're just staying up to stay up through the night, then, as he said, bad decision. But it all comes down to planning and making sure that your plan includes being wide awake while you're driving. So it includes your resting and how you're going to get by if you think you're going to drive all night.
And a truck came bearing towards them, and the combi just ran straight into them, and the vehicle disintegrated. And that's how that accident happened. Okay, another time, okay, 4 young people in a car driving on country roads. A truck came veering towards them, okay, the guy in the car tried to avoid hitting the truck, but then, most unfortunately, the car rolled down the embankment and then flipped and then incinerated. So again, guys, what I've just mentioned to you now, please don't try to arrive alive. And here is Mark.
I actually can't add to that. You've summed it up perfectly.
And we're going to close this subject on this now. So enjoy your trip, guys. And that's the end of part 2 of today's show. But coming up next, we have the bacon and egg pie coming up. But before we do, let's watch some of the ads I've mentioned. So here's Mark to take us out with that.
Well, I'm looking forward to egg pies, and I'm not looking forward to death and carnage on the roads. So all I can say is, please plan, please be appropriate in your choices for time, etc., how long you drive for, the hours that you choose to go, whether you've had a rest or not, whether you've been drinking or not, anything that is going to affect your driving, please take it into consideration before you get in the car.
And that's all there is to it. So we'll see you after. Good afternoon again, everybody, and welcome back to episode 57 this afternoon. Barry Bear and Mark English with you here in the studio. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring you the actual cooking segment, but we can tell you we've made a beautiful egg and bacon pie with decoration on the top. Now it's pretty simple. You just cook some bacon and then crack some eggs, put it in the pastry and whack it in the oven and let it bake for a while, and that's all there is to it. Well, I'd like to go back over how I have enjoyed bringing the Brave Park shows to you. Where they started, well, of course, my first video was out in the dining room on April 5th. And it was 7:35 in the evening here, and at my first dinner. After my first dinner. Now, the second day here at Brave Park, which I'll tell you about, I'd like to explain to you how my first day started. Well, my first afternoon began at 3 o'clock here in this room, and then I was introduced to everybody and then shown where my room was, and I've been here ever since. I won't go through all what happened with you, but I have had some ups and downs here at Brave Park. And needless to say, it's been a roller coaster ride for me. And then in May, I met this man right here, Mark English, and Out and About was born. And here he is to tell you about it. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, Barry. Welcome back, viewers. Yeah, so we met in May, and there was a few of us because we have a little team of people that helps Barry get out into the community and enjoy the things that he likes to do outside of the house. And so we met in, it must have been, the sort of middle of May.
The middle of May, yes.
And I think our first actual trip out together
was on the 30th of May.
There you go. And so that was the Story Bridge crossing, and it was a very, very opportune meeting because I've thoroughly enjoyed doing the videos with you, Barry, and doing out and about, and getting out there and seeing what there is for people in wheelchairs to be able to access, and how hard it is or easy it is. And it's been a really interesting learning curve for me, and it's been a lot of fun.
But like I've said, I had some news about Sydney a couple of weeks ago about the approval of the house in Sydney. So like I said on episode 20, okay, I wouldn't be here as a permanent resident, and excuse me, I've sent some paperwork off this morning, and they're gonna look through it and then get back to me within a couple of days or so. So all is looking good. Now, I didn't have a very good start when I arrived at Bray Park, but I've already covered that. But I have had a wonderful time here, and it is drawing to a close here in March.
Yes, your time here is drawing to a close, and hopefully it will be not a stressful time, and everything will be clearly organised in advance, and you'll have solid plans to work to, and your transition back to Sydney hopefully is very smooth.
So yeah, guys, I really enjoyed being here. The most favorite episode I've done is the Sean Cliff outing, and it was really something because I wanted to get out there and show you basically what Out and About meant for me. Okay, and it was an absolute great day there. Doug's seafood there. We had a great day, and then on the following Monday we were supposed to go on the River Cat, but of course, like Mark said, our very first plane to go on the River Cat got rained on, and it was a great disappointment because we were looking forward to bringing you that episode. And we've done a lot together since May, and I can tell you that right now. But I have had a bit of a roller coaster ride. I can tell you that now. Here's Mark.
You have had a roller coaster ride, given that, well, by the time I met you, you'd already decided that you were going back to Sydney. So it's been a bit of a journey to get to this point, hasn't it? As far as getting what you want organised and approved, and see a bit of action on your behalf to get you back to Sydney.
And it looks like a few little bits of the jigsaw puzzle have just been put into place, because like Mark said, it's like set in stone, nothing will change. Here he is.
Only the timing can change. The ultimate result, which is you back in Sydney, that's set in stone. So it is just a matter of getting organised to get you back there now.
So, like I said, I've had an absolute privilege, or should we say, it's been an absolute privilege to bring the shows to you. And the recent show yesterday, which we did at Chermside, you can view that now. Okay, so that's up there for you now. So 56 episodes, and that's a great achievement. Here's Mark.
Yes, we had, well, I certainly had no idea where we would stop when it came to episodes. It was, as I say, new to me, and I wasn't sure how often you did them, but knowing that you do them very routinely now, I just expect that every time I see you, we will be making a video. So it's been a very eye-opening experience for me, because it's not a technology that I have used for myself in the past and have little understanding or experience with it.
So we've covered like a fair few topics on the show, like phone manners, and things like that, and what not to do on the phone. So if you haven't seen those episodes yet, guys, please, we urge you to, or we'd like you to, we should say. And like we said, if you've got anything you'd like us to cover on the show, please feel free. Our address is Barry and Mark Productions, out and about, and it's 23 Monday Place, Bray Park, Queensland 4500. But if you don't feel like writing in, guys, it is totally your decision and call, and we respect your privacy as well. Here's Mark.
We would love to hear from people, both in regard to feedback and, even more importantly, suggestions, because we're very keen for ideas on where to go, what to see. And Barry, not being from Brisbane,
I was born here, but
that's right, you were born here,
and I'm so like, it's been a remarkable journey, and like, we've done the Goodwill Bridge, so you can view that. We've done into Pilly, we've basically done everything. Here's Mark.
and you've had a chance to visit your old haunts that you knew as a child. So you've had a trip out to Wacol and New Farm, and you live just up the road now from where you used to live.
At Strathpines.
Yeah.
So basically, guys, you know, 57 episodes later, what an achievement. Here's Mark.
It is a big achievement, and you've been absolutely dedicated to keeping the production going and making sure that you've done all that you can with the editing and then posting it to YouTube on a very regular basis so that the shows are up almost as soon as they're done. They're certainly up within a day. So you've been very dedicated at getting it out.
So like I said, guys, 57 episodes later, and this is the construction. So, you know, all that time. But before I do go any further, I'd like to tell you how my Brave Park experience was organized. Well, I got approved for the house by NDIS, okay? And again, it was a matter of organizing. I met the manager down in Sydney in February, okay? And in early March, I packed up, or started to pack, and then on the 31st of March, flew up to Sydney, flew up to Brisbane, sorry, and then it wasn't a good start, which I'm sure you've all heard about. And then I celebrated my 47th birthday here at the house, and then there was Easter and Anzac Day to follow. Okay, so April was good there, and then May came along, and like Mark said, we began our Out and About series on the 30th of May, and it was a very overcast, dreary day. Getting up onto the bridge was a hike, okay, so, you know, it was very, very difficult, so to speak. Well, we're going to take a break and continue this, and we will tell you more about about my time here. So stay tuned.
See you soon.
Coming up after the break, I continue my journey down memory lane with Brave Park, and here's Mark to tell you about what's coming up after the break.
Well, coming up after the break is the Brave Park story, and it is, where are we up to? We're still in May, aren't we?
May, yes.
Yep. So it'll be the Brave Park story from June on once we come back.
And a little bit of a reason why we had to stop production in June too. So that's all coming up. So stay with us. Here's Mark, and before we do go to the break, the Friday Follies are back for another week. Here's Mark to tell you about it.
Yes, this Friday we have another outing, so there'll be another jam-packed show for you, and well, I'm not sure where we're going yet.
Well, so you'll just have to wait and see.
There you go.
So you know, guys, don't get the tissues out yet because I'm still waiting on the date yet, and I think that is the next phase of our project.
Absolutely.
Or not mine, their project, because I've done my bit, so all they've got to do is tie up some loose ends, and then that's it. So here's Mark.
Well, we'll be taking up the story from June and why there were interruptions to the production of Out and About, as well as, I'm sure, a bit more exciting news on when Barry's due to come back to Sydney.
And we will tell you about that in a moment or after the break. So stay with us. We've got 2 hours of fun videoing to bring you, so don't you go back or don't you go away. Mark and I still have more to cover when we come back.
See you soon.
Our last hour of the show is continuing about the Bray Park story, and we're now into June. Now in June, it started off okay, but like we said before, Mark and I had COVID, and here he is to tell you about it. Good afternoon, welcome to the last part of today's show.
Thanks, Barry, and good afternoon, viewers. Yes, it was June and COVID was rife, and we tripped off to Scarborough one day, and Barry was a little under the weather when we started the day, but certainly by the end of it, completely zonked out and ready for the sick bed that he was about to occupy. So he did test positive for COVID virtually straight away, and that pretty much, well, it pretty much wrote off June for Out and About, because that was one day, and then the following week Barry was still in isolation, and then the week after that I tested positive, or I was in isolation, I think, actually, and then I tested positive. So it got dragged out for quite some time, and yes, we no sooner started than we got put on hold by COVID as far as Out and About was concerned.
And which was not a good thing, because you know when we were disappointed, and that episode was on June 14, episode 21. Here's Mark to tell you about it.
Well, we had lunch at Morgan's that day and a catch up with Pete and Sal and Daisy. And but apart from that, as I said, Barry was flagging all day because he obviously already had COVID, but we didn't find out until that evening when he'd clearly gone downhill and needed testing.
And episode 22 happened here in the studio. Here's Mark.
Was I here for that one, Barry?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Yes, it would have been absolutely disappointing, given that it was meant to be out and about, to be not out and about. So I can only imagine that it was a very disappointing show for you that day.
Well, because I was lying in bed, and it was not a good day. Not a good couple of weeks. Nearly 2 weeks to be precise with you. Um, so therefore, it was a very frustrating time. Here's Mark.
Yes, well, it was a frustrating time for both of us, but more so you, as we've discussed in the past. When you're isolating, you are absolutely stuck to one room because of your shared home life. For you to isolate, that you've got your bedroom and that's all. Whereas at least when I was at home isolating with my wife, we still had the whole house and outside. So it was a lot easier for me than it was for you.
So it was quite frustrating all around, really, because um, because it was inconvenient too, because I'd only done 21 episodes in that time, and it was not good either. So yeah, June was not a very good month for us. Here's Mark.
No, well, as I said, it was June. It must have been after June before we must have written June off after the 14th because, as I said, you were out, I was out for a number of weeks later because I didn't test positive until a fortnight after you tested positive. So it was quite a delayed reunion when we got back to it.
So quite a delay in in that. So after June ended, okay, July came along, okay, and it started off okay, but then on the 8th, tragedy struck, which we won't go into, but I was alone here at the house. But again, I will not tell you about it or why, because I will get upset about it. So August came along, so July 11 came along, and we recommenced out and about again, and this time it was to Scarborough again, and Morgan Seafood. Here's Mark.
We thought we'd best repeat the Scarborough Day, given that Barry's recollection of the end of it was a bit hazy. So we decided that we would venture back to Scarborough and give Morgan's another go when he was feeling a lot better and a lot more like having his life. And what do you know? Loved it. So, not a surprise that when you felt well, you found your lunch much more appetising.
And that I did. Here's Mark.
You had no trouble getting through the lot, and a not unsubstantial serve of chippies. So, the crumbed fish and chips, one of your favourites, I know that. And you did it justice on the day, I have to say.
And that I did. So July ended, and then August, and then Mark went on leave to Darwin for a bit, and he loved it. Then September came. Okay, we did new farm We did New Farm Park a couple of times, and that was good too. That was episode 29. Now, we've had to not mention people's names or include people in our videos because of privacy reasons. Here's Mark.
There's a fairly strict policy within the shared accommodation that people should not be in videos without their express permission. So we need to be very careful when filming outside the studio door because there are other staff, there are other residents, and it just means that it gets a bit complex in the privacy and permissions column. So much easier just to keep it clean and not have to ask individuals for their permission.
So October came along and the long weekend I was sick on that occasion too, and also we did episode 41, 42, and 43. So we've done a lot of episodes. So October came, went to the Botanic Gardens again. We talked about the Botanic Gardens too. Here's Mark.
I believe that was that our second trip to the gardens when we had the ibis incident.
Yes.
Yes, so it's a beautiful spot, Botanic Gardens. I should say the city Botanic Gardens, and lovely little cafe there. And we decided we'd get ourselves a burger there, but the rather tame ibis from the area decided that it liked the look of my burger, so I took it. Now you wouldn't think that that skinny little pig can pick up a burger, but it can. So only to tip it on the floor, but it managed to get it off the plate, so it did well.
And we've done the Goodwill Bridge as well. So we've done that. So quite a few videos as well.
Goodwill Bridge was a particularly nice spot, given that it has little way stations off the walkway so that you can stay out on a viewing platform that's off to the side of the walkway on the bridge. So it gave us somewhere to sit and film as well as sit and relax.
So 57 episodes later, and here we are at the end of episode 57. And we're a month out before Christmas too. So we'd like to take the opportunity of thanking you very much for joining us for 57 episodes. Here's Mark.
I have to reiterate Barry's words. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a commitment of time, and, well, really can't say thank you enough. And I hope that you continue to watch and that people get something from it.
So sadly, my time here will be coming to an end. Here's Mark.
Well, it'll be all too soon, but in the spirit of bureaucratic supremacy, We still don't have an actual date, and as much as I definitely don't want to hold you here against your will, Barry, I'm very happy to keep coming while you stay, and I'm not looking forward to your leaving and going back to Sydney.
So, guys, episode 58 coming up on Friday, and another jam-packed show. Here's Mark to tell you what's coming up.
Well, I'd love to tell you, but I also know that generally speaking, it runs on a surprise basis. So we will let you know on Friday, early on, what we're up to for the rest of the show on Friday.
So we'd like to say a huge thank you for joining us on episode 57 today. Now normally we will bang on about Triple O, but we're not going to this time around because we say it very often enough on the show. So I think all of you should know when to call 000 and when not to call it. Here's Mark now.
I think that's a very nice distinction. You know when to call it and you know when not to call it. So if you need them, absolutely call. But for any other reason, in other words, anything that is not an emergency, please don't call them. It's just a distraction.
All right. So we'd like to say thank you for being with us on episode 57 this week. This day I should say, and we'll be back with you on episode 58. Until we see you for episode 58 on Friday, thanks for your company, and we look forward to seeing you then on that episode from 10 o'clock in the morning. Until then, thanks for joining us on this journey. Until then, see you soon.
See you Friday. Take care.
Bye-bye.